bit. If he starts acting like he's gonna have to go to the bathroom, I may slip out real quickly to.
Sounds good. Sounds good. It's an honor to have Felix here with us. And yeah, like before this stream started, I was just telling Amanda here that this is something that should have happened a long time ago. We've basically known each other for a long time, and we've supported each other, and like just developed a friendship in within the booktube community. But it's the first time we're actually doing a collab together,
Yeah,
and this should have happened a long time ago. So without
definitely.
further ado, you want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about Felix as well?
Sure. So I'm Amanda from Strangementality Paper, and with me I've got the real stars of the channel, my guinea pigs. So I brought one with me today because I haven't held him yet today. And my channel is based around he's purring. I don't know if that can you hear that? His
No, I can't.
purring.
No, I can't hear
Okay.
you. Yeah.
So, it's based around book reviews. I like to do a lot of challenges, like 24-hour reading vlogs, even though those don't get a ton of views, but they're fun. And in my real life, I am a high school teacher. Teach
Well,
college prep and a ninth grade reading. So ninth graders and seniors. So
well,
two different worlds.
hello to Black and Blue Color. I love
Hi,
this guy's
Dan.
channel. Yeah, thank you for being here today. We're very grateful for your presence. And yeah, if you haven't checked out his channel, you should check it out. It's dope. He puts his heart on his sleeves. He has great taste in books, and yeah, highly recommend you check him out. So just after that introduction of Amanda's channel, something I have to say that I love about her channel is that she's never afraid to talk about the difficult stuff, whether it's like mental health, or she's talking about like drama within the booktube community, or she's talking about someone that offended her or someone she has a beef with. So me on the back end, I'm just watching all this stuff, enjoying the drama, trying not to get involved myself, but we might do some of that today.
You are welcome to get involved.
So before we get into the spicy stuff, how's your year been so far, and like what are you looking forward to in 2024 in terms of your channel? Maybe something you'd like to share, personal or and in general.
Well, the end of the year has not been great. I got my car stolen by a student and he exploded the engine. He did get taken in, so he got caught, but I did not receive compensation from the car because it technically wasn't on campus. It was right across the street because the parking lot was full that day and I got there late. So possibly my own fault. Late November, I lost one of my guinea pigs that this guy here, that's when I got him, was right after I lost one of my guinea pigs that you've seen on the channel. And due to my car, I had to cancel a trip. And I also lost a student to suicide. So I had a rough end of the year.
Wow,
But
like
before that, it was pretty good on my channel. It's been great because my one of my videos about Ken Follett, who I love to talk about, if you've seen my channel, I'm not gonna say went viral, but for me practically went viral. And my baseball team won the World Series, so balanced, I'd call it. And I met my reading goal. Started a new novel. Um, I've been working on some shorts that I've been doing, and I've got an idea for an upcoming novel that I think the novel that I'm struggling with right now to kind of get a flow going. I'm gonna put that on the back burner and then start something else. Start the novel that's floating around in my head. So it's been good.
well, that sounds like a very eventful
It
year.
was.
Like I feel
It
like
has been.
when you said a student stole your car, that just went like left field, like right away.
You
You
weren't
know,
expecting that.
I
No,
was
I
not
went and got
expecting
I
that.
went and got a rental car, and the people at the Hyundai dealer like set it up with Enterprise so I could get one. And I was filling out all the paperwork, and I was gonna get insurance on it. I just kind of looked up at the agent, was like, "What if a student steals it?" And she just started laughing, like she didn't think that that would really happen. And I was like, "No, that's why I don't have a car right now. What if that happens?" And
Yeah.
it was funny. Does that
Yeah, when you
happen?
experience something like that, all of a sudden you're like it enters into your awareness as a
Yeah.
possibility, even if like the chances are pretty low.
Yeah. No,
So,
I was the first, but not definitely not. Oh God, that guy. But definitely, definitely not the last teacher to have their car broken into. But I think I was the only one that got hot wired and driven around. So yeah.
Well,
Just
but then your baseball team won, so
yes,
balance, right?
it's like
Like
seriously,
like
honestly,
take a
I am
game.
not kidding. You can tell Dan because he didn't make it to the World Series. So, but I
Uh
think this year, but no, his teams have definitely won more World Series than mine have, and
uh,
that really cancels out, like, honestly, most of the bad stuff. I gotta be honest, like, because our team's been around for like 60 something years, and it took us like 50 years to get even to the playoffs. Yes, we did. Um, it took us like 50 years to get into the playoffs. Um, and it took like 45 years for us to get to the World Series. We lost in heartbreaking fashion when I was a freshman in college, and we finally just won. And it has such a huge like fan base where you think a team that terrible like wouldn't have people in the stands, wouldn't have supporters, but they always have. And the fact that it's not like in an actual city, it's in a suburb, and that's who they represent is the suburb. My mom is from that suburb. She knows the child or the children and the grandchildren, which I know of the mayor who brought the team to Arlington. So it's really personal for a lot of us here. It means a lot. So
right.
like seriously, I'm still watching replays.
I
That's how
can
much it means.
I can completely I can imagine that. Like I support Chelsea, the soccer team, and like our team wasn't a team that used to win before, and then when we started winning, it was like the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
So when we won our first Champions League, you know, the big deal. So I get that.
Most of
Now
my knowledge of that comes from Ted Lasso, to be honest, which has not been one of my favorite shows. But I will say I support not Lancaster. Liverpool. I couldn't even remember the name of
Liverpool,
my team
oh man.
because I wrote a story that took place on the Isle of Man, which has an offshoot of the University of Liverpool. So I was like, well, I should probably choose a football team. And so I was like, Liverpool. Why not?
So two things. First of all, I love the fact that you called it football, not soccer.
Yeah.
Because it is football. The feet is used to play the ball. That's one.
Yeah.
And two is that you touched on your writing, and this is something that I think that was how we met. You showed me, you
Yeah.
sent me one of your books on Discord, and then I read it,
Yeah. It was
and
a short.
yeah, it was a short. It was a short story, and then I gave you my feedback on it and everything. And I have to say, like I really liked it. It felt very solemn, very doom and gloom. Not doom and gloom, but it felt very grounded and it felt very solemn. It felt very like real. Like
Yeah.
the experience of the girl in the story seemed like something that could actually happen in real life.
Well, it
Um,
did. It was a memoir.
it was a
Yeah.
memoir.
Yeah. So it was a. I normally just call those shorts because I mean it's not really. I mean I guess it's a story, but it's not fiction. So it's what the academics call creative nonfiction, which I started writing in school. Didn't want to be in that class because the advanced fiction class filled up, and then I just kind of fell in love with creative nonfiction.
Hmm. Like
Strange.
so it's like, was that your story or someone you know?
No, it was me.
It was you. Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just understand you so differently right now.
Yeah.
Hey, found you on Instagram via Instagram. I take myself. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate a lot of people are liking my last video about like the top five grimdark
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, like so grateful for that. And yeah, I appreciate the sub. So like what do you have like any aspirations to like publish a book or like put something out there? Because
Um,
and if you're doing that, do you intend to self-publish or traditionally publish? And if so, so this is three steps. And if so, why?
um, well, I come from a screenwriting background. So I was, or well, I still like primarily consider myself a screenwriter because that's where most of my credits come from. I have some experience in Hollywood working with people out there, um, from my desk remotely, but um, Yeah, so most of it comes from like contest entries, like We Screenplay I was a finalist in. Not yeah, We Screenplay I've been a finalist in a couple times, but the Page Awards, which one of the winners wrote the book, not the book, the movie The Judge that has Robert Duvall in it. And I've been like semi-finalist in Script Pipeline, which one of the winners was Snow White and the Huntsman, back during the whole adult fairy tale craze. So most of my writing credits really are from screenplays of like, screenwriting is one of those things where only the 1% make it, if that. And really, when you look at my accomplishments, I'm not in the top 1%. I'm more like the top 8 to 5%. So I'm someone who like almost made it. And if I went back to it, I probably could get higher. I'm not going to say I lost my passion for screenwriting, but I kind of got bored with it, where I still do it every now and then, but it's just not my main focus anymore. But I would still call myself first and foremost a screenwriter. And secondly, my goals, definitely to get work out there. I've been published in some literary magazines. I have some submissions, and I do have a couple novels that I've been querying. I 100% know that I am not going to self publish because, one, probably the main reason I suffer from severe imposter syndrome. So, self publishing to me would not cure that. I definitely need the approval from agents and publishers being like, yes, you are good enough. And two, I don't want to market. So, marketing, like, I hate editing. I would hate marketing even more because to me it seems very similar. So, I don't want to market my own stuff. Um, and I definitely want that childhood dream of like walking into a bookstore and seeing my book and all of that, because I've been writing. The first book I ever wrote, I believe I was four, between 4 and 6. I can't quite remember, but I know I was very young because I didn't know that chapter books existed yet. And it was about a cave woman. It was a picture book, and I didn't understand why I would go to bookstores and libraries and I couldn't see my books there, but I saw everybody else's. So I took that book with me, and me and my mom went to like, not really a bookmobile. I called it a bookmobile. It was like a mobile home. And we were walking around in it. I'm sure it looked bigger than me because I bigger than it really was because I was a child. But I had my book with me. My mom was like, "You can take it, but you're not gonna, they don't want it." And I just left it on the shelf. That's one of my first memories.
Well,
So
that's the go getter in you, you know.
yeah, I know this, John A. Douglas. I've got bad news for you. Publishers aren't marketing anyone. That's not true. But okay.
Unless your name is King or Sanderson, they still ask the authors to increase their social media presence.
Yeah,
Which
that's true,
which
but
which
that's very
which
different.
which is the perfect segue, and I'm glad you brought this up, John, because like I feel like a lot of marketing right now happens on social media. Like if even if you took your book to a publisher or anything, they're gonna, like, social media will be one of the primary ways they will try to get the stuff out there. Now, like being a booktuber, someone who reviews books and everything,
Mhm.
in that space, you know, there's a certain amount of, and this is based off some of the stuff I've been watching from you, that there's a certain responsibility we have as book reviewers and everything. And you feel like that sometimes gets, and correct me if I'm wrong about anything I say, but you feel like that gets a little bit corrupted when authors come into reviewer spaces. Could you like just talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. I want to address what John said in a second, but I'll answer your question first. So when we talk about, or when I talk about authors and reviewer spaces, I pretty much mean anything outside of a like interview setting, going on somebody's channel if they're primarily a reviewer. if they review and write, if you want to talk to an author like writer to writer, yeah, that's fine. But when you are primarily a reviewer and you like buddy up, you chat on Discord with authors, obviously no one can take responsibility for someone else's behavior, but I feel like that creates a space or creates an environment where authors, especially self published authors, yes, black and blue collar, there you go, um, especially self published authors, feel safe to attack reviewers online. And
Mm.
because there's no intermediary like an agent or a publisher, like what we just saw with Kate Corain, she was going like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, not particularly, not particularly.
Okay, she was going and writing like fake reviews for books that she thought were going to be her competition,
Okay.
and there were consequences for her. Her publisher dropped her, and she's been blackmailed in the blackballed or whatever. I don't know. In the publishing industry, and she ruined her career because she had someone there holding her to a standard of excellence. Whereas you get people who, I've been attacked on social media by self-published authors. Um, there's nobody holding them accountable in a greater sense. Yeah, they'll lose fans, but at the same time, they're still free to keep doing it if they want to. Whereas someone like Kate Crane's been just completely shamed. And I think Daniel Jackson was basically shamed off the internet too. But there are certain people out there who are just so arrogant that they'll keep doing it. So
So it's like well, sorry, you said you wanted to address what John said, and then I'll ask you another question, follow-up question to that.
okay, yeah.
I think this was
No, the other down lower.
this one.
Yeah.
It's a prominent Star Wars author who complained last year. Publisher asked her to do more marketing. Okay.
That is a lot different than being a self-published author and basically running a small business. You have to either get the cover yourself or hire somebody. You have to hire an editor unless you feel like you can do it all yourself, which a lot of authors think they can. If you want to like send it out, you're going to have to find beta readers. There's just so much more you have to do by yourself that the publisher will do for you, including giving you an advance, which no, they are not what they used to be. They're small, but basically that covers all the back end. So when you print, do I have a book with me? This probably isn't the best example. It's beat to all hell, but this book, if you want a book of this quality with this dust jacket, with this picture, I'm sorry, I'm scaring my baby right here, with all the front matter looking like this on the inside, you pay or you do it all yourself. Yeah, it's hard work, no doubt, exactly. And basically, the publisher is going to give you an advance to cover all of that. And then once you make your advance back, so this book, the production value is pretty low. I'm going to guess, I don't know, this picture may not be in the public domain or it may be generated. I'm author of Flags of Earth Authors, so you probably got a pretty big advance. But if you were a debut and you put a book out looking like this, you're probably going to get an advance of about $3,000. So do you want to spend $3,000 making your book look like this and then face the possibility of never making it back because you're not a great marketing? Or would you rather get that money up front, put in some work yourself? That's not true. So get the money back yourself. It's just, the main way I describe it is that the risk does not equal the reward. It can if you're a one percenter like the sort of Kaigan lady, but it doesn't. And there's a big difference between the amount and the kind of marketing you have to do that your publisher is just too lazy to do for you versus the overall production you have to do yourself to get a book out there.
So I feel like this is a very interesting topic because it's kind of the reason I started out doing Epictalez. Like I was writing my book. I thought, oh, I'll finish it in 3 months. That was 3 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, let me start a YouTube channel like Daniel Green. I think Breach of Peace had just come out at the time, and I watched him. I watched him get sales on his live stream. So I was like, wow, this is the future. This is what I need to do. But then, of course, my writing speed didn't quite match up with the marketing. But what ended up happening was that I started doing book reviews. I joined the BookTube community. I made so many friends. I was doing something where I released like a chapter a day, and I got so much criticism. At the time, it was so painful to hear. But then, I got to a point where like I was like, okay, this criticism is happening for a reason. I try to take responsibility for it, improve myself as a writer, and everything. And right now I'm liking where I am. Like I feel like I could be a lot better, but I'm liking where I am right now. But either way, right, I feel like because of stuff like digital publishing, I feel like it might not be as daunting as it was before. Like when it comes to like making covers, like there are people with AI, for instance, and I know the whole AI thing, there's a whole new debate about all of that and everything. But in terms of
I'm not prepared to talk about because I don't know a whole lot.
Neither
All I know about AI is that you can't copyright it.
As well, apparently. And also like I use, like, if you watch my videos, like I use AI because before, okay, so let me just give an example. I used to pay, and this is just a little bit, I'll talk about it in the AI discussion. If you don't watch my book reviews, I do like motion comics, right? Those motion comics, each of them cost me like $250. So for any writer out there that's like, review my book, I'm broke. Like that's the reason why I haven't done more reviews. But like when AI comes, since AI has come, it's become a little bit easier to release video because I don't have to pay for art anymore, right? Well, I still pay for it, but like it's a lot more, it's a lot less. So subscription based and everything. So, but just the AI discussion, it's made just that so convenient, and it's the future. I don't think it's going anywhere. So for anyone complaining about it, you get used to it, or like you can complain about it forever. But
I don't know enough to have an opinion.
Back to like the main thing we're talking about, I feel like with digital publishing now, I feel like publishing is going to take a very, very like different turn in the future. And I feel like so with my motion comics now, I can promote books. I can do a book cover, or at least I can have a concept. Give an artist to like work with that. So I feel like it's a lot, like the way things are going. I feel like authors are like either way, whether you're going traditional or self-published, I feel like you're going to end up in a situation where like you're going to have to like market your book yourself.
Oh yeah.
So it's interesting that but you did a whole video where you spoke about like the numbers with self-publishing and traditional publishing. You didn't quite go into detail about like what the numbers meant and like what the implications of that. And the
I was saving that for another.
Oh, you're saving that for another video.
A little bit, but basically, it was all based on like Goodreads. Like I literally just got curious one day and was like, "Oh, I've heard of these people. How many have they read?" Okay, I'm gonna pause my thought. Matt. So, the thing is, because self-publishing has become not mainstream yet, but a little bit more popular. Publishers want to set themselves apart from it. So it kind of depends on what you write, who you publish with, who your agent is. As we know, Philip, Dr. Fantasy, he had an agent for like 10 years, but his agent couldn't sell it. So it's not like once you get the agent, you've got to, like, you're in. It's just a very different game. And I don't know how much I'll get into it, but it's just completely different. And
I think that his point is basically like there's no guarantee either way. Like before, I feel like earlier,
That's true. But the thing
er,
is, you
yeah.
never spend your own money. And I don't have any money. I'm a friggin' teacher in the United States. You don't pay anything and you still get your money back. So
Well,
that's
like
the thing. And you have a giant, massive team working around you who you don't have to pay. And yeah, you're still gonna have to market. Maybe marketing's the wrong word I was talking about. Maybe I mean like produce. I don't know. I'm not a business person, as you can tell, so I would rather have other people do that for me, which is another big part. But it's like I know they don't do as much as like maybe you think they are, but unless your name's Stephen King or Brandon Sanderson, yes, they began in a publishing climate that's very different from ours today. Um, no. That's what fantasy right now is, indie. Okay, I very much disagree, John Douglas, but sorry, comments are really distracting. So,
yeah, I'll let you answer
so
the questions
I
first before I
mean,
put them up.
I'd like to know one, who/where you're getting your information from, and two, the people who are saying this. Do you have any experience with the traditional publishing world or Hollywood? Because I have experience, firsthand experience with both. I'm not just secondhand saying this. These are people I know and I've worked with, and oh, hi, Britton. These are people I know I've worked with, and in some cases have published through. So, just letting you know. Obviously, you can't tell by my channel. My channel's not huge. The production value sucks, but um, I don't want to be the whole like I know what I'm talking about type thing, but I have a lot more experience in this area than most booktubers do.
Hmm.
So publishers can separate themselves and flounder. The what fantasy right now is indie. They're killing it with covers, exceptional stories, and great author voices. I'm indie writer or die. Well, good for you. I read indie books too. I have one on my
So
bed right now. Again,
I I think
production value is very, very low unless you go all out, you do Kickstarter, you pay for it yourself. Good for you. I like
so,
indie books too.
so have you seen this dude Zamir Akhtar?
Yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah,
I tried to
like
read his book Lightblade and didn't get through it. I DNF'd it at 5%, but I am going to read Gunmetal Gods because I really like the cover and the title. I'm going to try to read it. And I have
yeah,
Kindle Unlimited, so I
and,
do look at
and
and read a lot of indie books.
and that is like I think that is self-published as well, right?
It is.
So it's like I think John is a writer himself. I don't know how much experience he has with traditional publishing, but I think like the point he's trying to make is that it's like this it's unlike before because it's like a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of the way things are now. You have to give like the context to it in the sense that right now a lot of writers like Zami Akhtar, like Michael Fletcher, which are like popular fantasy, at least within the booktube community right now,
Mhm.
they have shown that it's possible to do it without a publisher, and it's
BookTube is
like
a very small, small little section of the world, which was one of the points of my video. Yeah, we hear about Will White or I
Will
don't know why I don't
White,
know.
Will White.
Will White. I can't recall the Sword of Qui-Gon person's name, but her and then someone else. If you recall, I put them. I've never said it wasn't John, but I put them into like tiers. The top 1%ers of self publishing only had the same amount of exposure as what I was calling like tier two traditionally published people who, you know, um, are kind of like niche genre people like Nicholas Eames, who wrote The Band, a couple others I can't recall. But it's just not as easiest word to say is good
It's tough.
as
It's
it
tough.
appears on BookTube.
It's tough, and like to just to reference something we are talking about before the stream started. So it's like after I started my booktube channel and I started trying to promote books, Like sometimes it takes me like to create like something visually stunning that people
Hmm.
would generate interest for, like a book or something, to take me like a week to produce. And then after I produce that for a week, we get like 57 views, right?
Yeah.
After a month,
Yeah.
so it's like there's a thing about marketing and finding the right audience.
Hmm.
And I even I left like what I was doing in sales, and I went into marketing for that reason, to be able to like learn how to market and everything. And marketing is such a different beast. Now it's like when you do it with traditional publishing, they already have like an established network, and they have like and this is just from my experience from marketing. I don't know exactly how publishing works, but they already have like an established market, and it's easier to just like hand everything over to them and be like, okay, take the wheels
Hmm.
from here. And then if you get that approval from those people, because they have their own standards,
Hmm.
it's like I can understand the level of how validating that could be as
Yeah.
an artist. But like there's also there's also it like in the it when it comes to like self-publishing and everything, like it's like deciding to take that responsibility
Yes.
on yourself, which is a lot,
Which
like you
is not what I
described.
want at all.
Exactly. So
So
yes. So it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's
yeah.
just like, okay, do you want to take ownership for how well your book does in
Yes.
this world, where you can scream in the forest for hours and
Exactly.
hours and nobody will hear you? Or
Hmm.
do you want to like hand it over to like a certified system and process that has proven to work? Still no guarantee, but
Exactly.
like and either way you're still going to have to do some marketing yourself.
Yeah.
But it's like it's I feel like that's like the topic there.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. and
Definitely.
and just like to get back to like the conversation we're having, um do you feel like, so your issue necessarily with authors
Mhm.
in reviewer spaces, it's more surrounding the fact that if a book reviewer does a negative review about an author's book, the author like freely can just like attack
Yeah.
the reviewer. Yes, okay, that I don't agree with. That I completely agree with you there. Like I feel like it's if there's this book called like The War on Art, or The Art of War, or something like that, or The War on Art, or something like that. And it says that basically, like, if you're a writer or you're a creator of any kind, like once you release it out there, it no longer belongs to you, because people are going to read your book, they are going to misunderstand it, they are going to interpret it in different way. The people that like your book might not even get the whatever message you were trying to send. They
Yeah.
are going to like, it's going to pass through their own
Mhm.
experiences, subject, and it's going to become theirs. It's no longer yours. So you don't have a right to, well, it's not, it's human to care, but
Yes.
somebody else's opinion is not. It's like you cannot. It's you cannot attack someone for not liking the work that you've put out. So I completely agree with you on that phase. Now, do you feel like authors in reviewer spaces, do you think that kind of like corrupts the authenticity? Because I have my thoughts on this, and I'll give it to them after you answer. Do you feel like that
Yes.
affects the authenticity of like the reviews?
Yes. Screaming. I can't self pub. I good for you, Matt. But yes, it does absolutely. And you can go around on different different people's booktubes who I accidentally called out like a year and a half ago and got them very mad at me, saying something. I don't want to get into it. You might know about it. Some people in the
No, no,
chat
no.
might
We're
know
gonna
about
get
it.
into it. We're gonna
Oh,
get
fine.
into
Okay. Yeah, we'll
it.
wait. But like, kind of losing my train of thought here. But shit, what was I gonna say? I told
uh,
you the comments
I,
distract me.
sir,
Okay,
I know,
yes.
I know.
So
Like,
yes,
just focus. Yeah,
go
yeah.
look up the indie book tag.
Mm-hmm.
Number 8. Do you review self-published books differently than traditionally
Mm.
published? 3 people who I accidentally called out like a year and a half ago were like, no, but yes, and start explaining how they do it differently. And I'm actually working on a video right now that I'm going to title I Broke My Own Rule with This Book. So, which was I befriended the author before reading it. And yeah, it's definitely changing the reading experience because I'll be reading and then I'm like, I wonder. And then I start going online being like, oh, does this mean this? And then it's like, oh, wait, can't do that. Yeah, Britain, it was just me not paying attention, not realizing I should probably not say certain things around certain people just because I didn't like
No,
exactly know where I was because I wasn't paying attention.
Amanda,
um,
one of the reasons I love you is because you say what you think regardless. Like you're not afraid to, like, if you feel somewhere about something, you're gonna talk about it. So
yeah.
please don't apologize. Like even if like at some point we don't agree, or like I don't care about that. I just want to have like a genuine, honest conversation with you. So like it's completely okay.
Can
Um,
I go to what Matt said real quick? I can't self pub equals self pub does not equal self pub bad. That depends on what you call good or bad, Matt, and what you want. I'm just gonna put this out there because I am a teacher. Think about what writing means to you. Is writing a hobby? Is it something you do for fun? Or is it your entire life? Do you want to take that risk on something you care so much about, that you love, that you can't live without, for the possibility of no one reading it because you don't have the back end skills that you need to make it? And to me, that's bad. So we'll leave it at that. Again, you're talking about you. Well, good. Yes, I am. I never said I wasn't. So, congratulations, Matt. But to you, yes, yes, to me. So if it's good for you, if you don't care enough about like that, if writing doesn't
but
mean that to you, go for it. Self-publish. I don't really care.
yeah,
um,
but
I don't
like
want
I
your
don't
heart
I
to get broken, and I don't want talented people to throw their work away. So I want them to know
but
the
it's
facts, and that's fine if you like them. I've always said that. But to pull the, oh, it's just your opinion. Yeah, it is. I never said it wasn't.
so it's like I don't even think this is
Karen
something.
Felix.
I don't think this is even something like to be contentious about, because earlier we talked about how like releasing your own releasing like giving it to a traditionally published thing is not a guarantee anyway. So it's obviously like a subjective standpoint. Like, do you want to go through like the toil of like marketing and like talking about it and like graphic design and
Yeah,
like dealing with reviews and on so on and so forth, or do you want to hand over that responsibility to someone else? Like I feel like that is just what it boils down to. Like
yeah,
some people could like the questions you asked Matt, for instance. I feel like some people could hear that. Do you really want to a book you care about, like something, is it a hobby for you? And then some people are like, you know what, yeah, like that mean I believe in myself so much that I would rather count on myself than like an establishment that doesn't really care about my work as much. Like they might care about it enough to like publish it, but they might not care about it to market it the right way it needs to be marketed. And trust me, like when it comes to marketing, like this is outside of like publishing or everything. There is you're a content creator on YouTube. Like how many times have you created something that you felt was important and everyone needs to hear, and then you publish it and you put it out there and nobody cares?
yeah,
So it's like there's such a huge, so and then maybe you hear like a bigger content creator talking about it, and they might not even have been as elaborate or as good as you in talking about it, but then they will get like thousands and thousands of views. So it's
yes. I'm going to
basically.
interrupt you, Britton. He means someone accidentally calling somebody out. And Matt, the sarcasm comes from frustration because I've said this a million times, many, many times, and I get the same stuff back. So Pim says we're gonna talk about it, so I'll wait. I'll let him lead. Stick around.
So first of all, Drown Kingdom Saga. If you haven't checked that out, you need to check it out. I've read book one, I love it. Read book two, I love it.
I
And the
think I
only
subscribe to that channel.
yeah, the only reason I haven't done a book review on this one yet is because before I finish my review, he releases another book, and I'm just like, there's more I want to see about this book.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I love him as a writer, and yeah, you should check out his book. You know, he's also an indie author that's doing not that's also doing well as well. So, you know,
Can we
that's
go to
that.
what Dan said at the bottom? Because this is kind of my point.
I
Yeah,
think people take risks without starting businesses, just like people take risks without publishing indie. Yeah, yeah. It's
that's
not
what
like
I was saying.
I don't think I don't think it's like a thing about like I don't think the risk is the point, because either way you're taking a risk. You know, I don't think the risk is like I don't think you can make the argument about the risk of them, because there are authors that, like, you know, they've given their stuff to traditional publishers, and maybe they got that advance, you know, and but they only got validation from like that advance. Like nobody ever read their books, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe like I was watching this stuff on TikTok. This writer, he traditionally published like 45 years ago or something,
Oh yeah.
long time ago, and it was just like last year that his book became popular. The
Mm-hmm.
whole time what was happening, you know,
Nothing.
like exactly. So it's like whether you traditionally published, you're a writer, you're going to go through the artist struggle. So, you know, if
Yeah.
you're part of the people that, like, people just immediately resonate with their book and they can't shut up about it, then great for you. But if you're not, then, like, yeah, then it's like either way you're taking a huge risk, you know. But yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, I think it depends on what writing means to you. In comparison to like where you want to go with it. Like if you're cool just putting out a self-published book and taking that risk and doing everything yourself, good. But if you do that, sometimes I do assume that writing's not your life because there's so much more that goes into it other than writing. Um, it's a risky and a worthwhile one, yeah. So much more goes into indie on the back end than just writing. And almost no indie author nowadays ends up like Andy Weir. Name one. I've got one in my head right now. In the past 10 years,
I don't know.
Travis Baldrige. Whoa, hot offhand diss to almost all self-pub authors. Was I wrong, Matt? Can I ask you if I was wrong?
Well, like, so just to give another 2 cents on this, just to give another 2 cents on this. So, like, I
I was wrong. He
particularly,
thinks I was
I,
wrong. Okay,
I,
name someone.
I particularly love working with indie authors, and I'll tell
Mhm,
you why. Because, like, it's most of my friends are
mhm,
indie authors, and,
mhm,
you know, if I feel like I can be providing value with my channel and my platform to indie authors,
mhm,
great, you know. Like, and like, make no mistake, right? I can, if I need to say this disclaimer in every book review that I do, my book reviews are subjective. It's what I'm
mhm,
into, you know. So it's like, and if I have a friend, like, for instance, if you were publishing a book right now, like, of course,
mhm.
whether it's traditional or it's indie, you're my homie, so, like, I'm going to, like, promote it, I'm going to talk about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's just like I've seen so many of my other writers, like, so let me just preface this with this. I have a friend, he's a creative writing professor,
Mhm,
and I've done some videos with him, Array, and he's I've worked with him to help indie authors in some spaces when it comes to, like, editing and doing all this little stuff right here. And then what we found is that, like, a lot of people are finding it difficult going through the traditional route. Like,
mhm,
some people, like, have had their books out there for a long time and
mhm.
nobody cares, like, and they
Yeah.
are insisting on getting it traditionally published. Now,
Mhm,
within that same space of time, they could have gotten like 10 people to read their books
mhm,
and gotten some traction on it. And, you know, sometimes if you look at the situation with, like, the Rage of Dragons, Ivan Winters, he he started he self-published first, and
Matt,
it
I
was
see
still
your
picked up.
comment. Was I wrong about what I said about Andy Weir?
Well,
I think you too. Probably not, but is it bullshit? I don't know. I can't speak for other people, but I've like I've said, I don't want people to accidentally throw their writing away. That's all I've said.
yeah.
But I would like to know if I'm right, if I'm wrong about Andy Weir about that offhanded disc. I do say it's very hard, and you're right. No one cares. No one cares about what.
But like, so I'm self-publishing, and I do say it's so very hard. There's like
Um,
this wall, and it's so hard to get through it. And you're
can I
right,
ask? Yeah.
nobody cares. But it's like that's like the anyone who decides to, like, except we're talking about a bigger idea of like,
Mhm.
do you go into being an artist or not? Like, being an artist is basically stepping into like the middle of nowhere, like in the middle of a desert,
Yeah.
and screaming and hoping that someone hears you. Like, that is basically what it's like to be that artistic experience is something that every writer, every artist, whether you're a writer, whether you're you do comics, whether you make movies, you are going to experience that if you're doing something creative. So
Mhm.
it's like, I don't, self-publishing, traditional publishing, it's a risk.
Mhm.
Maybe the numbers are a little favor traditionally published more, but there are indie authors doing it out there, and your book might not get the attention it needs if you self-publish, but like, there's work to be put there as well, and you cannot ignore that. And
Mhm.
you have to do, like, we as content creators, right? Like, we do this all the time. You work days and days and days on videos, and nothing, 10 people watch it, and you have to move on to
Mhm.
the next thing. That's the artist experience. So
Yeah.
regardless of self-published, traditional published, I don't know, like, it is what it is.
Let me see. Michael R. Fletcher and Richard Anderson. Let's go. Okay, let's go to. If I click on it, no. Indeed, it is, and the goalposts in very weird places. The goalposts in weird places. I don't know what that means. But onto Will White again. Will White is a one percenter. So Michael R. Fletcher, Richard Anderson, all one percenters of the millions of self-published novels out there. Um, so again, are you part of the 1%? Do you think you can make it in part of the 1%? And I
Even
said, Brian, yeah, Brian Cahill again, but again, not Andy Weir.
but then that's
But
the thing, though. Like, you have to believe in yourself.
no, it's yes, exactly. Andy Weir is part of the 1%, and he published in a very different climate than we have now. I don't know who Richard Anderson is. I guess it's part of a waiting game too. And how many read pub authors live off their writing? How many? I think he meant trad. Yeah. Um, a decent amount. Most of them have to teach though. But at the same time, um, self-pub authors don't really live off their writing either. They kind of live off the business they run. So again, and from the video I made a long time ago, I looked at Will White. He got the same exposure as a middle tier successful um, traditionally published author. So he had about the same amount of exposure as Nicholas Eames.
Hmm. This conversation is killing me, man.
Self-pub is seemingly the future. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, you touched on something. You touched on like, what we're talking about now in terms of like the strain and how difficult it is to keep going, even when nobody's responding to stuff that you've put your soul and, like, you've spent hours and hours and hours of work into it. What does, and you touched on this in one of your previous videos, mental health in, like,
Mhm,
content creating,
mhm.
content creator. I don't think that content creating is I feel like, as if you're an artist, you're content creating or you're writing, I feel like it could be relatable on either front. So, like, what's your experience with, like, dealing with mental health within that space of being a content creator?
Um, so I suffer from several mental disorders, just kind of outside content creation. I have extremely severe bipolar disorder. Um, the main problem I would say is bipolar disorder. I've suffered from some pretty severe abuse in my past. Um, I also have something similar. It's kind of similar to autism. It's called nonverbal learning disorder, where how many traditional authors don't make it? I'm sure there are plenty. Yeah, that also depends on what you're calling making it. To me, um, when I gauge success, I I would say you are successful if you write a great story and get it into as many hands as you can. It's not about money or any of that to me. It's about quality of the writing and a number of people seeing it, which is one of the reasons I discourage self-publishing because I know how bad it can go. And having that intermediary there, your agent, your publisher, prevents stuff like what happened to me on Twitter with Zach Argyle. So, but back to the mental health problems. One of probably the worst problem I deal with right now is obsession. I'm working on it. I've actually gotten a lot better with my obsessive tendencies. So in the content creation space, obviously people aren't going to know that looking in on my videos. They're all they see is the behavior, so they just judge it. And at the end of the day, um, it it bothers me, and I can obsess over it. I have a feeling we're going to talk about that later, Drowned Kingdom. But it does bother me. I would be lying if I said it didn't. But I can deal with it. I've been through so much worse, and my job is so stressful that I don't really have time to sit there and brood about it all day. But yeah, I do get mistreated a lot based on the behavior, but the behavior is also a symptom of something much bigger, which I know other people don't know. So the way I kind of, I guess, even that out is making videos about mental health. Um, and to some point, if I'm not obsessing over it, I'm just ignoring it. I have friends, but it is kind of a thing you deal with when you have mental illness. Everybody will be like, "No, I love you for you." And then when like a mental illness symptom slips through, people get kind of turned off. And honestly, it's just something that you learn to live with. So it's not like I can sit here and give advice or just be like, "Oh, this is how I deal with it." I'm just used to it. That's the thing. I'm just used to it.
So hmm, okay. That's a lot to deal with. I think that it's no, it is a lot to deal with. And I think like it's pretty brave that you always like you care about this topic from because of your own personal experience, and you basically make videos and content create about it. I think that's pretty brave.
Thank you.
Like, and just for the sake of like just for clarity and everything, can we talk about what happened? What happened with Zach? Like, what happened with Zach Argyle?
Um,
Is that his
so
name?
I made a vlog a long time ago. I I work in public school in the inner city. Creative writing got dropped, which really infuriates me. Don't get me started. I'm like getting goosebumps because it pisses me off so much that it got dropped. So it was like a clickbaity title. I do a lot of clickbait, by the way. But it was like creative writing teacher teaching reads nothing but self-published books for a full week. So I read the first Threadlight book, and I really liked it. It did definitely have a lot of problems. Um, Evidently, it's really similar to Mistborn. Um, some people have called it like a Mistborn knockoff, but then I hear it's very much its own story. I haven't read Mistborn. That's one of my goals for 2024 is to get at least the first era of Mistborn done. And I think after I answer this question, I'm gonna have to go quickly put him up. He's got to go to the bathroom. He's starting to scream. But one of my goals is to read Mistborn, and so I read the first one, gave it 3 stars, liked it well enough. It was definitely the best self-published book I read for that vlog. And then I went and read Stones of Light, and I didn't think it was as good. So the writing, what most people just call prose, is the underlayer of prose when you take out style. Yeah, I agree. Black and blue. I agree, Dan. But It's called writing on a sentence level. When you talk about the fundamental, the syntax, what the words say, I was going to read all 3 of them and make a video about just reviewing the whole series. And one of the things I noticed that really bothered me about the book, it's just a pet peeve I have as a reader, is that Argyle started a lot of sentences with what is called an improper gerundic phrase, which basically means you use, I really think I'm about to get peed on. You use a, in fact, I'm going to put it on this,
Handle that and come back.
but rather him pee on the desk. Yep, there's
Yeah.
a poop. Okay. So what that means, what a gerund is, first of all, is it's a word that is normally a verb. So writing, that can be a verb, but in certain sentences, it's a noun. So Miss Norman teaches us writing. In that sentence, it's a noun because it's what I teach. It's not the verb. The verb is teaches. When you use an ing word like that at the start, so I could say something like petting your guinea pig can make them purr like a cat. That's proper because the overall noun is implied. So if I added your on front of it, like you're petting your guinea pig can make them purr like a cat, yours the noun. So if you take that off, it's almost like the way a command works. If I were to say go clean your room, there's already a noun there because it's implied. You go clean your room. So in that context, it's correct because the noun's implied, the subject's implied. But what an improper gerundic phrase would be, it would be like if I wrote down, tying my shoe, I ran to the door. And there were several sentences in there that did that. Like I think, oh, okay, he's messing with my mouse. I think the one that really, really bothered me was closing the curtains. He ran outside or something, and I marked that because I was like, you can't close the curtains and run to the door at the same time. And there was another one on there, and I was like, this doesn't make sense either. This is why we don't start with improper gerundic phrases. And there were just more of those like just sentences that didn't really make sense. Like he described a character stalking like a viper. Well, vipers don't stalk. Vipers are actually ambush predators. I'm from Texas. I know this. We got rattlesnakes. We got water moccasins, both of which are vipers. They hide under rocks and wait for someone to come. So you can't stalk like a viper, and you can't stalk if you don't have legs. So it just didn't make sense. And this is just a habit. I always do it with every book I review. I made my notes public. Zach Argyle went in there.
Which is what you're supposed to do as a book
Yeah.
reviewer, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Zach Argyle went in there, read all my notes, and posted on Twitter, I think the same day, which was told to me by my friend, evidently or like apparently Stones of Light. I've been informed by a reviewer that Stones of Light is bad because I started several sentences with gerunds. He didn't name me, obviously, but I went in there and a lot of people were saying like not so nice things. Oh, this is a bad reviewer. And another author posted, it was JCM Byrne. There's nothing wrong with this, by the way, what he said. Said, I've written 3 books and I still don't know what a gerund is. And Zach Argyle replied, I believe it's a technical term said by people to make themselves feel smart, which I took offense to because I found that kind of rude. So he DM'd me after I'd gone through and kind of like just posted the review there, said, hey, I'm the reviewer. This isn't what I said, blah, 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 blah. He DM'd me and was like, I'm happy to delete this. I didn't want to bring you into the joke. And I was like, no, it's fine. I think it could be a good lesson. Like, this is why we don't do this. And so he didn't delete it. He made it like private where people could only like who were already on the thread could talk about it. And I was like, why'd you do this? And so we had a little conversation going. I was just like, come on, it's okay. You made a mistake. People will forgive you. It's fine. And he's like, I think you've been misreading the situation. I've gotten DMs of people calling you names. I'm not moderating for my sake. Even if that's true, and I still don't really think that it is, what kind of thing is that to say to someone who's being nice to you? And then he blocked me and has not apologized. But I don't think he knew I was a booktuber back then. I've actually appeared in videos with his wife in compilations. So that was the incident with Zach Argyle. I'm gonna let you guys think about it while I go put Felix back in his cage.
Like, damn, that was a lot. Yeah, hmm, I don't know, I can see how okay,
Go ahead.
so Zach didn't attack you. He didn't mention you by name at all. He was joking around without mentioning you. Yeah, and you got yourself involved. Question mark.
Disagree, but okay. I mean, I think from this guy's Matt over here, his point of view, he's no, never mind. But that's definitely true. He definitely did attack at least what I said, and then when JCM Berm left that comment, I don't know what a gerund is, and he said, I believe it's something that people use to make themselves feel smart. That is an attack on me. Whether he mentioned my name or not, that is an attack on me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I feel like and this will develop over time. The way
No
like
problem, Drowned
au-
Kingdom. I'm gonna check out your book, by the way, too. It's a pretty cool title.
the way authors and reviewers interact. I feel like
Matt, can I ask you why you're rolling your eyes and how that's not an attack on me, as I'm the reviewer and he said something pretty rude, pretty not nice. And then I don't know. I'm kind of sick of talking about this, but go ahead and tell me how that's not an attack on me just because he didn't name me.
so if you don't want to talk about this, we can move on to something else.
I mean, I'll talk about it. I've just told the story over and over and over again.
Yeah. So it's like
He didn't mention you at all. I believe it's something people use to make themselves feel smart. How is that not mentioning me? Because his original tweet was, I've been informed by a reviewer that Stones of Light is bad because I started too many sentences with the gerund. What's a gerund? I believe it's a technical term used by people to make themselves feel smart. I think that would annoy a lot of people. And then even if I was misinterpreting the situation, which I could have, I'd also like to point out too that he DM'd me. That's just no way to speak to somebody that's just no way to speak to a person trying to gaslight them like that. And even if it wasn't, just be like, I'm sorry, Amanda, but you were in the author's space. Because he brought me into it. And no, I didn't have to reply, but I did. So yeah, I did.
so
Still,
let
not
me
nice.
talk. I don't know if this experience is relevant to like this at all, but yeah, I remember my first couple videos on YouTube, and yeah, with my first couple of videos on YouTube, I got like so many negative comments that were like, they obviously attacks at me. Like they told me to go
Mhm.
back to my country, different stuff. And at the time, like I was just happy that people were commenting on the video that I put on the internet. I didn't really care, Like I feel like how you like I feel like if I and this goes back to what I was saying earlier about when you put something out there, it no longer belongs to you. If someone can look at something you put out there and have an
Mhm.
opinion about it, it's no longer belongs to you. So if somebody like attacks you and everything, like it's like if we put it out there, I
Mhm.
think
I agree.
you first of all, like something that makes your book review so good is that you are a teacher, right? So you know exactly what you're talking about when it comes to writing, and you understand writing on a technical level, right? So your understanding and breakdown of his book, you had every single right to put down what you thought about the book
I agree.
out there. But the response to it, like I don't think you can control that,
Mm-mm.
and I don't think you should care either, like because you've put it out there, you know what you have put. You're a teacher, you teach
Mhm.
this stuff for a living, you put it out there, you had every goddamn right to put it there. How people respond to that comment, whether it's the person that you're reviewing or it's somebody else coming in and chiming in, it's like it's their right to do that, and it might be rude, it might be whatever, but like so
Oh
so
yeah,
so hell yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I
so hell yeah.
agree.
You know what
I
I mean?
agree.
And I
Um,
think that's where Black and Dan is coming from. You know.
yeah, at the same time though, he misrepresented what I said, which is what irritated me. Because I didn't say that. And that's why I got on there and posted the actual review. And yeah, that's why it bothered me. There's never enough room for positive vibes in the writing community. Agree. PL, I don't know what that
PL
means.
is the PL is the writer, like PL Stewart is the writer of the Drowned Kingdom. So
Okay.
I just agree with him, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I agree. But that doesn't make being rude to someone acceptable. And I I don't know. Like,
So
I agree that the review no longer belonged to me. The notes didn't belong to me. But I didn't like him going out to like his giant fan base, alluding to me, the reviewer. I've been informed by a reviewer. So you're like, no, he didn't talk about you. I'm the reviewer. That's a noun. That's the subject of the sentence. That Stones of Light is bad. I didn't say it was bad at all. I did not say it was bad. I didn't say anything in the review about gerunds. I just said, don't start your sentence this way in my notes. So, yeah, he did mention me. He didn't call me by name, but he mentioned me. And yeah, but I hate to see things like this happen in the writing reviewing spaces. I agree. And again, this is why I feel like traditional is a little bit superior to self publishing because there would have been an intermediary there to be like, hey, don't do this, or there would have been a little bit more consequences. Like, obviously, that's not as big as like what Kate Crane did, but it's still overstepping. And I feel this goes back to
so
um,
so
I
so
feel
do
like
you,
it
do
goes
you
back to what we were talking about at the beginning, where because a lot of booktubers have created this cozy little space with authors, and they are also reviewers. So we've got reviewers and authors coming together on BookTube. They feel like they're part of the reviewing community because a lot of reviewers have made them a part. And that's why I think that it builds an environment where a lot of authors feel comfortable attacking reviewers like that. And you can disagree, but when you look at what was actually said, um, he did attack me, and it was inappropriate. I agree.
so
There's enough negativity in the world. Yes. I have a feeling, are we going to touch on my quote negativity, Epictalez?
do you want to talk, if you want to touch on it, you can go right ahead.
Oh, I get yelled at a lot on like yelled at through Discord or BookTube because I'm quote negative. I don't really think I am, um, but yeah, I don't just get on here and make tons of like happy book content or like set out to give a super positive vibe. I'm here to give criticism and review books and review our criticism. Oh no, that's fine, Drowned Kingdom. It's not you. It's other people. Because I get a lot of your ridiculous negativity is just not needed. It's like, well, I don't think I'm negative. I don't get on here and just like trash people. I'll trash a book if it's bad, but that's a book. That's not a person. And it's like tech reviewers don't get this. Like if somebody reviewed a crappy phone, no one's going to get on there and be like, that's so rude to the software developer. That's so awful. The electrical engineer worked so hard on that. Why would you have to be so negative? And this is where being an artist comes in. We all put a little bit of ourselves in our work, but then it no longer belongs to you.
Yeah,
So it's like, because it's a book, because it's, I don't know if visual art would get this too. I don't watch a lot of like art critiques,
they
but
do. They
you
do.
do?
They do. It's, I feel
They
like it's
do.
even more vicious because the community there is a lot bigger than the writing community.
See, I used to be a photographer, but then I hurt my back, so I can't like photograph as much as I used to because I can't hike out into places.
So let me just say this real quick. Matt on Books, thank you so much for coming. And you're probably not here anymore, but thank you so much for coming. You've contributed to making this
Big time.
very like big interesting conversation. So thank you for your input and everything.
I think we can add him to the list of booktubers who don't like me now. That's okay. Everyone has their opinion.
If you had like a tier ranking list of booktubers that don't like you, like your top three, your top three haters of
Tori
booktubers.
from Tori Talks.
Tori from Tori Talks.
Case Hidden Shelf. Probably Matt now. No, actually Dominish might hate me the most. So Dominish, then Tori, and then probably Matt. Tori or Kayla. Like Kayla blocked me. I really don't know why. I never did anything to her. Yeah, those would be the top three. I've made my peace.
I don't think Matt hates you. I just think he disagrees with you.
I don't know if this is something to wear. Okay, we can add her too, I guess.
No,
something to wear as a badge of honor.
It doesn't mean she doesn't like you. Like she just like it's just from the chat. It's just like, like she just has an opinion based on like the conversation that we've been having,
Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, like we've talked about.
I know does not like me as a person.
Yeah,
he sent me DMs.
Yeah.
He called me immature and stuff like that. Yeah. He is such a strong word. Yeah, he said I was immature and I need to grow the hell up and stuff like that, which again goes back to the whole living with mental illness thing. I'm sure it comes off as immature, but yeah, I'm sure it does. I live with it. You think I like being like this? I don't, but I have to deal with it. So I guess you do too.
No, like first of all, like I I love you. Like I love your channel. I love what you do, and like I feel like wherever you are in life, regardless of how people are receiving who you are as a person, like everyone is growing. I watch some of my content back and I cringe and I'm like, I can see why people got offended by some of the content that I did. So it's just like I don't want you feeling as if like but of course I can't control this, but I don't want you feeling as if people don't like you. Like I like it's just like you're growing, you're becoming a better person.
That's kind of like a catch-all term. I'm just meaning. Okay, Fantasy Awash thinks that I come across as bullying. Can you give me an example?
I just find it slightly conflicting when you see certain people are
while you're reading that and while she's typing, I need to go
use a platform to highlight issues with people and it comes across as bullying. We all have illnesses, we struggle, and it's up to us to be the best people we can be. I agree with that, and I like in addition to that, like we're also each growing, and every day we wake up, we fight with ourselves to be better than we were the previous day, and
I want to know what Fantasy Awash is referring to.
So it's like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fantasy Awash, but I think what she's trying to say, okay, well, I think she just said that. She just elaborated. I'll let her speak for herself. Your initial video about Zach is one thing where you continue to bring it up on several videos, platforms. You voiced your piece in the initial video. Continue to emphasize on it. In my opinion, is now bullying.
Well, maybe if he apologized, I would stop.
But like you can't say it like that's deep, man. Like you shouldn't have to apologize, like you can just move on, like
I told you I have obsession issues.
But like and with all due respect, like that's not his problem.
No,
it's not his problem. Like he cannot, it's not an excuse, but yeah, like like from the start, like what I will say is that 100%, like you had it right, and I love the fact that you called it out, in his right. Like book reviewers, like I don't want any book reviewer feeling afraid to voice their opinion because they are afraid of getting attacked by authors. At the same time, it's like if you put something out there, whether you're a reviewer or you're an author, like when you put something out there, people are going to have opinions about it, and like it's like either way, deal with it. You know, like deal with it and put something out there again.
Yeah.
Don't
But
let it
the
stop
thing,
you.
Miss Awash, is that it's part of a much bigger problem. It's not just that he insulted me once. It's part of this whole issue that we've talked about. And it's a very good example, which is why I keep bringing it up. I talk about Kate Corinne. I talk about other stuff. But again, that's just a personal story. That is a
But,
good example
but
of
like
the whole author and reviewer spaces. So
let's let's
um,
let's talk this one particular example that you gave me before, where like I feel like I completely agreed with you, where
Ken
just
Follett.
when
I love Ken Follett.
when this reviewer reviewed a book
Mm-hmm.
on this author, and then the author like started
Yeah.
like creating like like literary basically like snuff books, writing books about like like doing horrible stuff to her. You know the one I'm talking about?
The guy who like wrote her into a horror novel or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that guy.
yeah.
Um,
Could you talk about that, because
Follett infamously.
I feel like your own personal scenario is a bit too subjective, and I feel like because it's
Yeah, that
subjective
was his name
to
matched
your
up.
experience,
Yeah.
it is. I feel like the point that you're trying to make might be getting missed. So it's like, why don't you talk about like that, like when that happened, and like why that is, why like book reviewers and authors need to regulate themselves on how they communicate in each other's spaces, basically.
See, it's like I'm gonna quote Rachel here. It almost it's where we're kind of like not all men. Like, don't tar all authors with the same brush. Don't tar all men with the same brush. Not all of you, but enough that it's a problem. Um, Fantasy awash. As long as you like don't do stuff with that, um, then I have fantasy awash. I have. That's the thing. It. But anyway, one isn't safe to speak to you because you're going to highlight a comment, take a screenshot, and make a video of it. Yeah, I will if you do something like that. But if you don't, then why would I? If you don't send me hate emails attacking my character, why would I? And
So from your perspective, you're just fighting back.
which is horrendous. Um, in a way, yeah.
Yeah. So like I was saying, like I feel like we should focus on like just give the story about like what happened with that thing, so that people get the point you're trying to make.
Someone
Because
sent
when
me.
you
Yeah, that's not true. Fantasy Watch, actually, that's not true.
yeah,
Um, see, again, this it
I
gets
know.
twisted. It gets twisted. That's not what happens. So it's like, okay, good.
Okay,
Don't
good.
watch me if you don't want
Understand,
to. That's fine.
understands where, no, it's not that. Like I'm just trying to, because I get the point you're trying to make, and I want people to get it as well. So I want it to be less personal when you talk about it, which
Mhm.
is why I'm saying that I want you to talk about the other scenario where like it's clear where the author was obviously at fault. Like it highlights what you were saying clearly.
Sorry, that comment. Okay. I watched your video, so I'm basing it on the content you put out. Well, I put the actual DM in there so you can see what he said. And it was not, please just stop doing this. It was far more than that. But yes, one of the reasons I am kind of obsessed with Zach Argyle is because it's a good example of one of the things I don't like. Okay, good. So one of the things I don't like about self-publishing, which is someone who seemingly is very talented, heard it's a Mistborn clone, but just not like refining it as much as it could be. That could have been amazing. That could have been the next like huge HBO Game of Thrones thing. But it wasn't, because it wasn't quite there. And um you can watch the video where I kind of talk about it at the end, where I'm like, oh, this is so sad. This could have been so great. And instead, it's just mediocre. So it's like a perfect example of where it's like, Okay, this is what not to do, and this is why I don't like certain things. And you take that personally. He said I was being immature, so yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Well, like if you talk about like an author's baby, he's gonna take it personally. And apparently, if the author like rebuttals back, you're gonna take it personally. So it's like everyone is taking everything personally, and it's just like I feel like if we can just separate, if we can be professional on both levels, then like
Mhm.
this is not an issue because it's like you're putting stuff out on the internet. People are
Yeah.
going to attack you.
Mhm.
It's as guaranteed as the sun shining tomorrow. Like it's so it's like at this point, it's like, is it worth like directing so much energy into that? And opposed to like you're a content creator, like you have better stuff to do. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So like that's just my two cents on it. Like I know, and it's like what I don't want is for people to miss the point that you're making, which is why I'm trying to bring it back, because the point you're making is good. So you don't want to talk about it, and I don't know so much about it, so I'm going to talk
Yeah.
what I know about it. So there was a booktuber who basically made a
Mhm.
video criticizing a book that she read. She didn't like it. I
Mhm.
watched the video. She didn't really talk too extensively about it or anything, and what she said was fair. Like she might have like made it a bit humorous, but then we are content creators. We need people to laugh when they watch our videos. Like that's our own level of creating. So
Yeah.
she did what she did. I didn't see anything wrong with it, with the way she reviewed the book. And then the author on Twitter kept like like just talking about how, oh, if you're not a book, if you're not a writer, you shouldn't review books. Like he
Yeah.
just was just bashing her like all the time. And it was kind of akin to, he would not drop it. He just kept going and going and going. And then he started writing books where like she was in the books, like he wrote her into the books, and she was basically a sexual object that
Yeah.
he was playing around with in the book, which is like really, like, are you serious? Like she only said your book wasn't great,
Yeah.
like she didn't enjoy your book. So it's like I feel like that is the issue she's trying to address when she
Yeah.
says that authors like should be more like they should be you should be, as an author, you should be able to navigate yourself within reviewer spaces without taking it personal when you release a video. When you hear someone talk about your book, it's all subjective
Mhm.
at the end of the day, which is
Mhm.
the point I think she's trying to make. I
Yeah.
feel like it's I don't think it's like a black and white situation in her situation, because like offense was taken on both sides, and
Mhm.
depending on where you stand on this discussion, you can take her side, you can take his side. But like the point is just that you cannot like once you put something out there, it no longer belongs to you. Like whatever happens, and the idea is just to keep is just to move on with it you know well, thank you. Editors are literally 5,000. Editors are literally $5,000 and not even close to what trad gets. Yeah, I have no experience, so I can't say for this, but I've heard people complain about this as well. You know, um,
To respond to what she said right there, it's because I keep hearing about it.
like this or the previous
Yeah,
one.
that right there. It's because I keep hearing about it. Maybe it's a cycle too. Maybe I keep hearing about it because I keep talking about it, or I keep talking about it because I keep hearing about it, but it just won't go away. And that's why I keep talking about it. It's like I'm reminded every friggin' day of this stuff. And that's why I keep talking about it, because it will not go away. If I stop talking about it, it's not going to go away because you keep talking about it, in my opinion. Because I keep getting the same questions over and over again, and I keep having to re-explain myself. I
So
mean,
I might be guilty here because I was the
yeah,
one that asked the question. So it's like, okay,
it's not that. It's just
from
that it
this point
keeps
on,
coming
no,
up. It
no,
won't go away.
okay.
It's like
So
you
um,
don't have to answer, but that doesn't mean it's going to go away. Is the thing. So that's why I keep talking about it. It makes me feel better to talk about it.
yeah.
So if it doesn't go away, I might keep that. I never said it wasn't. So yeah, it is a choice. But
So let's
yeah,
not talk about
let's
it
move
then.
on.
Let's move on. So yeah, what do you think the role of booktube is in shaping the reading trends?
The
Take a
role of
hard left
booktube,
there.
shaping the reading trends. I think it's more of book talk. I don't go on book talk because my students have ruined TikTok for me. Um, in shaping the reading experience, it definitely shaped mine because I became more of a serious reviewer. And unless I put a product out there, I'm probably like, I think this goes back to like, um, just kind of like this thing I have where if I spend money on something, I have to use it. That's one of the reasons I don't have a Kindle. It's a lot of money for a product that just does one thing. And um, so if I read a book, I feel like I need to review it to make the reading sort of worthwhile. And I got back into reading during the pandemic because of BookTube. So BookTube made me a reader. And in turn, it's made some of my students a reader. Because this recently happened, I'm going to go tell a story. One of my students who said he had only ever read one chapter book, he's a senior, he's 18, but he was like talking about how much he hates reading, and he told me that he did like the book we were listening to a couple years ago called Unwind. I was like, oh, I don't have that. I used to have the whole series, but it disappeared. That's what happens to classrooms. Books disappear. Um, but then I was like, you know what? You might like this one. And I pulled out They Both Die at the End. Because it kind of had the same vibe as Unwind a little bit. And I gave it to him. He came up to me like 3 days later. He was like, I've only read like 3 pages, but I've already cried several times. And then when he finally finished the book at the beginning of the day, because I have him first thing in the morning, he comes up to me and he's like, can I talk to you? I was like, yeah, let me finish what I'm doing right now. And so I was done. I was like, all right, come up to my desk. And he came up and he was like, can I give you a hug? And at first I was kind of weirded out. I was like, yeah. And so he gave me a hug. And then he just starts bawling about how awesome this book was, that he never thought he was going to read a chapter book in his entire life. And he can't believe he identified with it so much. And he was like, I feel so accomplished. Thank you. This never would have happened without me. Well, really, that never would have happened without BookTube, because that's where I found that book. I believe, I don't think this is the first place I heard of this book, but I can't remember. Chandler Ainsley might be her name. She reads a lot of smut. I read a lot of smut. She did the Try Not to Cry challenge in like 2021, and that was one of the books on there. So, yeah. And I've thought about making that a video, like the sweetest story you'll ever hear. Like that
Yeah,
kid was
yeah,
bawling.
yeah. I feel like as a teacher, that must have been a very like the student hugging you and everything. That must have been such an like rewarding experience for you.
It was just weird. I was like, wow, awesome. I guess stuff like this really does happen. So yeah, it was sweet. And he's Hispanic. The two main characters are queer Hispanics, and he is as well, which I honestly didn't even think of when I gave him the book. But then I was like, oh yeah, that's true. One's Puerto Rican and one's Cuban, and he's Mexican. So
Hmm.
yeah. So he said he didn't like Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda though. He
Hmm.
said it was a little bland. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I've
Like
read most of those. Like, did you succeed? I did not cry. Okay, so I started this last comment right here. Um, I personally have not done, like, I didn't finish the Try Not to Cry challenge, but I got it from Chandler Ainsley. Um, try not. So I started it, and then for some reason I did not finish. Um, the three books I read, and I'm probably going to do it again. The three books I read were Where the Red Fern Grows, which I absolutely hated. But that one was kind of sad at the end. My chin was quivering. The Nightingale, which is actually my most hated book, and did I? And let me see, what was the other one? Oh, A Man Called Of, which is now that movie A Man Called Otto. And that one just made me happy because he was such like a curmudgeonly character. But then we find out why, and I was like, oh, of course that's why. So it's like this guy, he's just this lovable asshole. I guess kind of like me. I can be lovable. But he obviously had good reasons for being that way, and it was sweet, but it did not make me cry because I just loved him so much. The last book to make me cry, I remember it well because it's been a while and it's such a good book. Salt to the Sea by Rudis Apetis in November of 2021, and I have not cried since. The
Yeah.
last time I almost cried from something in the media was the end of 12 Years a Slave. And some okie dude, yeah, it made me cry laughing, basically. It was awesome. So, yeah, I do like trash media too. I guess you could call it like really bad movies and like Ice Planet Barbarians and super smutty type stuff. So,
You know, it's funny. Like I don't remember the last time a book made me cry. Like I've read so much grimdark. My heart is like ice right now. Like there's
yeah.
no tears
I
left to cry.
I thought I was gonna cry at the end of The Queen's Fool because I read my goal, my like one goal where I would have been like upset if I didn't reach it was to finish the Tudor and Plantagenet series by Philippa Gregory. And I thought I was going to cry just because it was such a long journey. That was the last one, but I didn't. I didn't. It was a happy ending. So, but like, you know, happy, bittersweet endings, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I see right here that says, because I'm distracted, news cycles go away like everything else. Fantasy awash. I will sit here and I will tell you right now that I will not mention it ever again on my channel. You can hold me to that. How about that?
We have a
Deal. We
resolution.
have a deal. You
We
can
have
hold
a
me.
resolution. Let me put
Yes.
it out here.
Yes.
So Fantasy Awash, like thank you for coming on this channel and settling this whole thing. Like
Yes.
I think you made I like how you addressed her. You did it respectfully, and you did what you did, and like we can now move on from that. And thank you
Yeah,
for
it never
you
occurred
made
to me
this.
that it would come across as bullying. Definitely obsessive, but not bullying. So I apologize. I will not talk about it again. What it's kind of disappeared now above Bards and Books. What this comment right here is really interesting. I want to talk about it real quick. Um, yeah,
I
right there.
like some aspects of
So
BookTube, but I think the algorithm makes everyone say the same thing. I review the same books. Every book talk should be called Book Toxic. So
okay,
I'll
so
just
but
about this very
I wanna
quickly.
go. Okay, go ahead. Say what you were gonna. You're
Like
kind of breaking up on my
like
end, by the way.
you can you hear me
I
better?
can hear you, but you're like
So it's either my microphone or your speakers. Like, can everyone else hear me well?
no,
If you can hear me,
it's
like,
the whole thing. It's your video and everything. It's kind of stopped for a second. But
okay,
what
I'm
he said about the algorithm, that is 100% true. Actually, I watched an interesting video about it a while ago about how algorithms on YouTube and Netflix and stuff, because it goes off what you like, it starts to give you all the same thing. And that gets on people's nerves. So that is 100% scientifically proven very bad English. And I also recently subbed to you. I love your channel. But
so
yeah, I wish I could remember where I saw that video, but it mentioned another streaming service called, it was very new at the time, called like Shiver, where it's only horror movies, but it's like they use a different algorithm. Shutter. Um, but yeah, that's a good point to bring up because that is very true.
hmm. So yeah, like for me, like I always try to go against the grain. I do not like talking about the same books. Like if I'm trying to review a book and I see reviews are coming out so much, sometimes I get discouraged to release it because I listen to the reviews and all of them sound alike.
Mhm.
So it's something that I've definitely noticed myself, and it just like so on book talk, for instance, right, there are certain books you can talk about and then they will do well because you're talking about that specific book. Like you can see from the hashtags how many people are interacting with that
Yeah,
topic, so it's like there's an obvious bias towards some book than others, and it's difficult to come up with something new. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
in
I
book talk
know exactly
too,
what you're talking about.
or TikTok. The thing about that is you don't get to choose what you watch on there. Doesn't it just pop up on your home screen? I'm trying to get better about posting on TikTok, like my under 10 minutes videos I'm putting on TikTok. But I just find that kind of creepy that you have no choice in it. It just pops up on your home feed and you just keep watching. Like that doesn't
So
sit well with me.
so I think first of all, like, yeah, my soul is just as back, and yeah, like, I feel you, brother. but but like, with the thing with to the way algorithm works is that if you spend time watching a particular topic, then TikTok would show that topic more to you. So the algorithm basically breaks down what you like into ones and zeros, and, like, based on what they feel would keep you on the app longer, they will show to you. So it's more strategic than just, like, random stuff popping. And the popular topics, because on the content creator side, people are just trying to get more views and more attention on their channel and their brand. So it's like some people just decide to do what's popular and what the algorithm has shown that people like to watch, to benefit their own channel. But me, me, like, I just post, like, whatever I'm talking about currently without trying to pay too much attention about that. um Let me see. Last Not to Make Me Cry was Last Olympian. May not forgive Uncle Rick for that. Ooh, like Rick Royden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't think I've read the Last Olympian, but his
I haven't
books
even
are
read Percy Jackson.
made. Wow, like,
I
that
know.
was like a big part of my childhood, a
The
huge
first
part
book
of my
was for
childhood.
me. I started the second and I just didn't finish it. So, but I stopped reading for a really long time because when I was in the troubled teen industry that I've talked about, the troubled teen facility that I've talked about, um I was constantly like being knocked out on medication because it was too strong. And I would get in trouble for it. So I would have to like literally all day sit at my desk and all you could do was read, write, and draw. Um, so that kind of ruined reading for me for a long time. But I read some really, really good books while I was in timeouts. But yeah, that was around when Percy Jackson was getting more popular. Like I didn't know the series continued, and so I just kind of missed it. And then once I like rejoined life at the end of high school, I just didn't read
It was
anymore.
it was huge. Yeah,
I
yeah.
it wasn't until the pandemic and BookTube that I actually got obsessed with books again. But and also my nonfiction class, you can kind of blame it on the nonfiction too, of why I got into reading again. But I read only nonfiction for a really long time, and then um, after AWP in San Antonio in 2020, right before COVID hit, um, that's that's when I discovered BookTube from watching ASMR videos. I talked to Burton about that. Yeah,
So my last videos, I actually say F the algorithm law within 45 seconds. And
I
that's why
love
we love
that.
your channel, Dan. That's why we love your channel. You talk about what you want to talk about, and your opinions are always, like, as original as they come. And I love I love the space you create from. I wish I could do more of that. So yeah. Let's see. He said he almost cried in the beginning of Something Wicked. This way comes. Lord,
Free
that parts
Bradbury.
are gut punches, and I didn't even have. Wow.
Very, very, very. I always do a Sound of Thunder with my ninth graders. It's usually a hit. Anything with dinosaurs. Yeah,
Oh,
Ray Bradbury's great.
let me see. I see this comparison. I liked recordings when it was Harry Potter. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Harry Potter. I would say I read all the books, but, like, I wasn't like a really big fan of it. I read it
I
because,
was.
like, the way the book was hype, say, wow, you didn't like the last one, oh, you should read the next one, and it got me every single time until I finished it. um
I was huge into Harry Potter. Like, oh my God. And still kind of am.
I just didn't like Harry Potter as a character, like
No,
the
he
main
was definitely the
character.
worst part about the book.
Like, he was, and it was just like, how can someone have no agency Like unless Voldemort, he was always reacting, except in the last books, I guess. But like he had no agency until like Voldemort was doing so, and I just like he just wanted to live a normal, like he
Yeah.
was not destined for like a normal life. He wasn't, and I feel like if Harry had Hermione's like attitude towards like his situation, I would have
Mhm.
liked him, but I could not. I loved different characters in the book. I
And
loved Sirius Black, like Snape. Well, I didn't really like Snape too much, except the ending, but it was
I
kind of
like
like
Snape.
mixed feelings.
I'm gonna
But,
say Epic though. I mean, I can't speak for Rowling and she's a little crazy now, evidently. But I wonder if maybe that was intentional, like kind of like in a movie where you cast an unknown for your center figure, like 1917. The main two people weren't stars, but they were like surrounded by stars. So maybe she wrote Harry Potter to be really blank, that
hmm,
we could project ourselves onto him, and the other characters he just kind of served to bring other things out of the characters. I don't know her writing process. I don't watch a lot of stuff with
wow.
her, but I could totally see how that might be intentional, and especially if it's a kid's book,
Yes.
so there's
So
also
you
that.
so there's this other anime like Hunter x Hunter, and like the main character is also like that. Well, it's a manga as well, but what you describe about making the character bland so that the readers can
Mhm,
project themselves onto him, and like
mhm,
make the other characters on the periphery more
mhm,
colorful, like was an intentional decision for that reason.
mhm.
So that's very interesting. I never actually thought about Harry Potter like in that sense. I only ever experienced Harry Potter as a reader, and I was like, I don't like this book, and this is why. But I never really like thought about it. But and well, like so, Dan, you have to be grateful because early in my booktube career, I wanted to do a rant review about why I didn't like Harry Potter. So I'm glad I didn't. Like, I'm not gonna go further into dissing him, but yeah,
I
I'm
did
just
a
gonna
Harry Potter.
put
I
that out
started a
there.
Harry Potter reread, and there's a part you mentioned earlier in the stream about, or maybe that was just when we were talking about how like rereading stuff as an adult is so different. So there's a part in the Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone where Fred and George are throwing snowballs at the back of Professor Quirrell's turban.
Hmm.
Do we all remember what was under the turban? What he was do I need to give it away? What was under the turban,
Well,
Epic?
does that count as a spoiler though?
Yeah, because it's total into the first book.
Well, I don't know if I want to spoil it for anyone
I
who
know,
hasn't
but
read it,
just
but
think about it. Think about they were throwing snowballs at the back of his turban. So I caught that. I saw that. I was like, what? From freaking Britain. Don't click on that. Don't click on
yeah, I'm
that.
not I'm not gonna click on it. I'm not gonna click on that. But yeah, as a Brit, I should probably prefer Harry Potter about Percy Jackson all the way. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I'm with you.
I need to read it, so I can't say. Shh! Don't say his name.
The one,
The
but I loved like, so this is like on a separate topic and everything. I loved one thing I did like about Harry Potter was the mystery, or like how Voldemort was presented, the one who shall not be named. Whew,
yeah,
so hard.
yeah,
That's so hard. Then I thought that was so sick.
yeah.
Chosen one characters are notoriously lacking agency. Harry Potter, Luke Skywalker, Neo. Yeah, I feel like maybe it's like part of the hero's journey until they
Oh
get
yeah.
to a point where like they have some agency. But
Yeah, there's the
you know,
call and then the denial and then the acceptance of the call. So like with Luke, it's that's a really well structured film, even though the dialogue, I don't like the dialogue. We've got our inciting incident, which is so clear, and then he's like, I wonder, I'm not gonna join. I'm not gonna join the rebellion, even though there was a call. So we get the call to action, the rejection of the call, and then the part where he has to go no matter what. And it's not really a spoiler because we all like he obviously goes on a journey, but it's when his aunt and uncle are killed. So that's the end of Act One, and that is when he accepts the call. That follows the hero's journey perfectly. Now,
yeah,
Neo, it took me a second to place that. That's the Matrix,
the
right?
Matrix.
Haven't seen it.
The
You know,
Okay, you need to see it. You need to see it. So the thing with my girlfriend is that every time she says she hasn't watched something, or she hasn't, like, I'm just like, okay, whatever we're doing, we're gonna stop, we're gonna watch that, and then you're gonna give me your thoughts, and then I can move on with my life, because the moment you say you haven't watched something like The Matrix, life stops. We need to, like, to watch that. So I think we've been here for almost 2 hours. Can you believe that? It's been an hour and almost 45
I
minutes
know
right
time
now.
flies. It's like we're playing Crusader Kings or something. Time just flies.
But
But funny story to the audience here. This is should tell you about my math skills. Well, or just how out of it I can be sometimes. He said, "You want to meet at 11 p.m. Pacific time?" And I actually deleted the message I sent to you. I don't know if you saw him because it embarrassed me. I was like, "Yeah, I'll set my alarm because I was thinking 10 a.m. my time. I'm in Dallas, so Pacific
uh
time. You're in Vancouver, right?"
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like LA time. And I know they're 2 hours behind, so like
Yeah.
what the hell? What was I thinking? No, I was thinking you were on Eastern time. And
No, no,
so
no, no, no,
I was
no.
like, I'm gonna have to set my alarm because I'm on break. I don't want to wake up at like 9:30. Um,
Yeah.
because I like to sleep. I like to sleep in. I'm a big day sleeper. Kind of I get anxious at night. But I was like, I'll set my alarm. So then I get up at 9:30. And then that last thing I sent you, that screenshot of
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, why does it say it's starting in 2 hours? And then I was like,
Oh, so that was when you figured it out.
yeah.
Well, I'm
No, that
very
was me showing you like, look, and then I deleted the other comments because I was embarrassed, but I just left that on there. And then I was
yeah.
like, oh.
Well,
So yeah. So I was like,
I'm glad you've been able to make it, because I'm glad you made it, because this has been like the most engaging live stream I've had so far, and you made it fun. Like, you were a good sport. Like, you handled yourself well, and you were
oh,
entertaining, and
awesome.
like,
I'm surprised. Uh,
I'm glad that I put you on the channel, and you said your piece, and somehow a resolution came about, and we spoke about
yeah, I apologize. I did
the
not realize that would come across as
the
bullying.
the
Antagonistic a little bit, but not bullying. I'll stop. If she's still watching, then
yeah, it's
yeah.
okay. I feel like it's okay. It's okay. Like I feel like there's a resolution. The people that follow from the start, like, understand how that got resolved. And yeah, like, I definitely want to. I don't want to, like, say something and not do it, but I definitely want to be doing this every Saturday. So for everyone that has shown up today, like, more of this every Saturdays. I'll find interesting people. Hopefully they're as interesting as Amanda, to come on my show, and or come on my channel, and talk
Or
about this.
crazy. I
But
that might be a euphemism for crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, if someone isn't crazy, they might not be interesting enough to
There
get
you
on the
go.
channel. So yeah, like, I'm crazy too. So
It happens.
Um, but yeah, thank you everyone for showing up. Like, comment, and subscribe. Amanda's channel is in the description, so go there, check her channel out. Sub. She's already a big booktuber compared. She has like 2,000
Because
subs.
of
So
Ken Follett, man. Because of Ken Follett. My Ken Follett video. But honestly, I kind of think those might be bots. But I don't care. The number looks all right. But speaking of mental health, my last video was about my least favorite mental health rep in books. And I'm going to make soon. I have lots of videos planned. I'm going to make soon about my favorite mental health rep in books. So if you want a quick preview, two of the ones I know that are going to be on there is Challenger Deep by Neil Schusterman and Agincourt by Bernard Cornwell.
nice.
Yeah.
So for everyone, stay epic, and peace.